so they might have uploaded this.
No, I think that's correct, though. It looks right because of my beard, because I grew a beard when Evan Tanner died.
2008, so it was
2008.
a little bit after.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, there's a dude named Evan Tanner. He was a UFC champion, and he was a very interesting guy. And he would do these things that he would go on a walkabout, you know, to try to find himself, to go alone in the woods. And he did one in Death Valley. And heat stroke apparently affects your ability to literally, you can't think straight. So he couldn't figure out where the water was. He just couldn't figure out where it was. Because, like, I don't know, I've never had heat stroke, but the way it's described, it's like it doesn't matter how tough you are. It's like your brain doesn't work right. Like your memories aren't good. You can't walk right. Like you're about to die. Yeah. And then he died. And Death Valley is, I think it's the hottest spot on Earth, right?
Yeah.
What does it get to?
It's right outside of Vegas, right?
Yeah, the hottest recorded I think we hit was like 130 something.
Yeah.
So Evan, you know, just a very interesting guy, very, very tough guy too, and a great fighter, and we all loved him. And so that was like right around that time.
And that's how you remember it, from the beard.
Yeah, man, he was an interesting dude. When an interesting dude winds up dying in a way that's unfortunate and preventable like that, it's like, fuck, man. He would have been cool to have around. You know, he had like a very different take on why he was a fighter, and like he was like trying to find himself through this. You know, and there's certain guys that it's like there's authenticity that comes through in music, and it fucking comes through in everything, man. It comes through in fighting too. It comes through. There's certain humans that are just so authentic that when they're out there, you want the best for them.
He had been writing a blog for several months since his return to fighting after a layoff, and a lot of what he wrote turned out to be eerily prophetic. As we take a look now at some of the samples from Evan Tanner's blog.
First day, I told Evan, well, hey, we're all gonna go into Yokohama and, you know, go see a movie and hang out. You wanna come? He's like, nah, I'm just gonna jump on a train and go. And I ain't kidding you, man. This guy put on his backpack and jumped on another train. And we didn't see him anywhere. And next thing you know, we're showing up to training and we're like all freaked out. And there he is at the dojo, which is also a very difficult place to find. You know, training. He ended up going all over Japan in 1 week's time. In certain aspects of Evan's life, I think that there was a tremendous amount of fear of things. But I think in certain aspects, like being adventurous and the foreign world, he had no fear whatsoever.
I just want to thank everyone. I've really enjoyed my stay here in Japan. I feel very fortunate that I got a chance to come over here and fight in Pancrase. Looking forward to coming back in September. I hope to see you then.
To be flamboyant about your win. They want you. Wasn't a disrespectful thing. It was, you know, if you won, they wanted you to be, he wouldn't do it. And he's kind of get out of the ring, you know, he get his hand raised and I go, hey dude, you need to sell yourself there. And he's like, all right, I'll do it next time. Next time I wouldn't do it.
He didn't fight because, you know, he was angry. Evan fought for competition. Evan fought because he actually enjoyed seeing if he could impose his will on somebody else that was trying to impose their will on him.
I remember watching a fight. Evan was, I can't remember what fight it was, but he was mounted on top of a guy. And this was before I fought in the UFC. And he was hitting the guy, hit him a couple times. And then it was almost like as if he slowed down a little bit, and then the referee stopped him and he just kind of put his hands up like, yeah, I'm done, you know, and maybe like stuck his hand out like, you know, are you okay? Like almost double checking on his opponent to make sure that he was okay. I think that there was just some genuine care on his side of things for another individual.
Well, I spent 17 years in a pro fight career, you know. My success was at the loss of somebody else. Well, I think the one thing that I think Evan was looking at is how do you make it win-win?
Just thought I would point to the piece of real estate that used to be occupied by Evan Tanner. There's actually a trailer in the back now. Now, this is not the trailer Evan stayed in, just coincidentally. There's a unit. Now, with this trailer in mind, that's only a couple steps down of what Evan was staying in. Evan's did have walls on it and some type of a couch or a carpeted floor, but you know, it wasn't what you would picture a professional athlete to be staying in. Let's put it that way. And he stayed there for quite a while. I can't remember how long, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't at least 3 months. That's what he called home.
Make this happen, you know. So thanks everybody.
Celebration was like a big banquet. It was a nice big party down. Dana White just got to put a big party on down the stairs, and he gave me big hugs. Hey man, thanks, you know, for all the help, you know, and we just, you know, hung out like that. He didn't really celebrate much.
When you go in and see a fighter after a fight, okay, whether they win, they're either the type that are just going crazy backstage, you know, they're so pumped up, or they lose and they're the exact opposite. They're so angry or depressed, and you never got either one of those emotions out of him.
Even after he won the UFC world title, you know, I was around him, and you know, he would say things like, "What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. What is it? Who cares? You know, we're just a tiny little grain of sand on a beach in this whole time." You know, that's how he thought. He's very intelligent, and I think it was a strength, but I think that also was a weakness of his, because he liked to overanalyze everything. Like, what does it all mean? You win the world title, what are you doing? You're going, yeah, I'm the champ. I mean, there is no low, but even pretty much right after he won it, he was just like, so what? So what? What does it mean? Well, right there, you know something's not right.
Evan got into drinking a lot, and I think Evan always had. You know, I think when he left Amarillo and came here in the first place, he was trying to escape that and kind of turn over a new leaf.
He just never really cared too much for Amarillo, and I think a lot of it had to do with him more than Amarillo, because, you know, he found the same problems anywhere he went. I'd tell him, you just can't blame Amarillo. You know, he found the same problems in Vegas and California and Oregon.
Super hard to be an alcoholic and be the champion of MMA. I mean, it's just a testament to how talented he was and how much further he could have gotten if he wasn't.
We're at a bar called Gas Panic, and I don't know, I guess I was probably 20, 30 feet from him maybe, you know, and I'm sitting there watching him, and he lines up these really big shooters of Patron, tequila, and about 6 of them. And I thought, oh wow, cool, he's buying us Patron shooters. And he wasn't buying them for anybody but himself. And I sat there and literally watched him drop all 6 Patron shooters, just boom, boom, boom. He did all 6 of those, and then I saw him I think he did another 6 maybe an hour later. I never seen anything like it. The amount of alcohol he put down that night was scary. This is before the fight. And, you know, he went there and won. It wasn't like he seemed affected by it. He opened up a great deal, you know. Evan might have said, you know, 10 words up to that point, you know what I mean, to me, maybe a little bit more, you know. But that night, you know, he opened up, he was grabbing guys in headlocks, you know, goofing. He was a lot more relaxed, you know what I mean.
For the most part, when he was drinking, he was actually kind of the funnest to hang out with. I don't know if that's good to say, but I don't want people to bullshit about how he is or make him out to be perfect. you know, just because he was known. You know, I would like it to be told how he really is, without any BS.
I told him, I said, look, I'm your friend, and I'm not your drinking buddy, so I won't drink with you. So I wouldn't drink with him no more. I wouldn't drink beers with Evan. And that pissed him off a little bit, but, you know, it is what it is. You know, I've been to bars, went to get him, pull him out of bars. He slapped me in the face, you know, but then he got emotional about it, you know. You know, and that was the sad part about Evan, you know, he was really, really struggling. He was really, but if you try to put out a life preserver for him, then he was Evan, you know, Evan the warrior. I don't need help. I don't need your help.
If I was to try to sum up Evan with a word, it'd be really hard. And I want to be careful too, because, you know, like one word that really comes to mind is selfish. But I don't want to say selfish, you know, when the gentleman has passed, and it's almost like, well, I'm putting him in a negative light. A lot of great athletes are selfish. That's one of their top characteristics. Evan worried about Evan. Evan did what Evan wanted to do when Evan wanted to do it, and that made it tough to get to know him, but also to like him. You know, selfish isn't necessarily a quality that you're looking for in a friend, though it is a good quality to have if you're going to be an athlete that has to take care of number one.
You know, you talk about Chael and Team Quest. You know, it's not a team sport. Those guys have a team, and people help you get ready for your fight, and in turn, you're supposed to help them get ready for their fight.
Down the road, that became kind of a rub, especially, you know, after he kind of won the title, and we were kind of in a negotiation for, you know, he'd owed some money, and there were some different things hanging out there that needed to kind of be settled up, and how that was going to work, you know, with the gym and with the other guys in the gym.
I have an email actually on that. He wrote me back, "Hope your Christmas went well. Ours was good. Training is going well. I have officially left Team Quest. Money issues. The issue being they thought they were entitled to a percentage of mine."
It wasn't about any money, okay? Because Evan didn't care about any money, okay? But Evan's opinion of that was, guys, I helped literally build this gym. I put the rafters up. Yeah, Evan didn't want to pay for something that he felt he helped create.
Evan had showed up to training on a few occasions, liquored up, smelling like beer, and, you know, we go hard.
Instead of asking him to, you know, to slow down the drinking or to, you know, curb it, it got to the point where it was just like, you know, here's what we expect, and if you don't want to do that, you know, then, you know, it's probably time for you to go. It wasn't what I expected. I expected him to say, oh, okay, you know, I'm willing to step up and be a part of the team and contribute. And it was like, yeah, you're right, I'm pretty selfish, and I'll just go do my own thing.
I was kind of on my own since I was, in a sense, since I was in 8th grade. You know, I made sure I put myself through the rest of junior high, through high school, got myself into college. You know, I did my own laundry. I just had to take care of myself.
Him and his family, you know, his mom kind of checked out on him, and from a very, very early age, they took care of themselves, and they had to. So I think that lone wolf kind of all-alone mentality came from that, a lot of it.
I was like, oh, we should celebrate tonight. You know, you guys want to go to a club and celebrate his victory? As we're leaving the parking lot of UFC. And then, you know, we get some drinks, and he screamed loud, no. It's like, the guy just want to fight, that he was all quiet about it. And then he mentioned, it's like, oh, like very, very quiet, oh, we can have a drink. And then from there, you know, didn't work out very well no more, but.
Drinking his tequila, and, you know, like it was Gatorade and stuff, you know. And at one point, he was sitting in a bench in my garage, and he was so much in alcohol for like 3-4 days that you know, it was like blood coming out and stuff. I never seen nothing like that. was sad, you know, and we even tried to put water in his bottles, you know. He's like, hey, you guys trying to trick me? He's like, can you stop drinking and stuff? And he'll never stop.
I think those couple years of drinking were like, those 2 years were probably more like 10 or 15 years. He put a lot of alcohol down. It made it hard for him to keep relationships. It was a little transient.
You know, I don't know if, you know, that's not something I can notice. You know, you know, looking from the outside, maybe someone else could notice something like that. I'm like so immersed in my own world that, you know, I can't see what different effects it might have than somebody that lives a different type of life. But yeah, my whole life I've been traveling, you know, moving around, been a searcher and a seeker, you know, and you know, that permeates every aspect of my life. I mean, everything I do, you know, that kind of mindset or that state of mind, you know, it's the underlying tone for anything I do in life.
He basically had told me he had a great vocabulary. Anybody that talked to him, you know, he was just such an articulate guy, and he was such a thought-provoking conversationalist. And I think he would have written a great book. And so I would encourage him. I say, Evan, you have a great voice. You know, there's a great vision in the way you speak. You know, you're very visual. You know, when you talk, I can see what you're talking about. That's a real talent. Got to develop that talent. Use it more, write more, write more.
I always found something to be very interesting about him, and the way that Ernest Hemingway talks about the grindstone theory, that if you have a pen that's dulled from writing, but you've never lived your life, then you have nothing worth writing about. You could be the best technical writer there is, but if you have no stories to tell with your pen, there's no sense in it.
Whatever goal he had inside, he was going to go there, you know? You know, that's what I thought really, with that the whole incident, what happened. Did he really want to kill himself? Did he really didn't want to kill himself? But when I heard the story, when he went out there, the first thing that came to my mind was saying that, okay, he told himself he can actually make this back. He's gonna do it, you know, walking back God knows how many miles without any drink. I think that was typical him.
And I got a text message from him too. I'm in Club Springs. I ran out of water. I feel like shit, but I'm okay. If you don't hear from me by tomorrow in the morning, call search and rescue. And the another message was like, I'm going to try to hike the 5 miles back to camp. And after that, I called him and I called him and I called him. I never got an answer from him. And next day, I just did what he told me to do.
Wade, this is Evan. Dave, sorry I was rude last time we talked. It's my nature.
You know, we usually spoke nearly every day. And I always called him E.T. I never called him Evan. And for some reason I said, I called his number and he said, hello. And I said, Evan, Wade, I'm surprised I'm getting a signal. I said, what are you doing? And he told me, he said, Wade, I think I'm dying of thirst. And he couldn't hear me. And I kept hollering, Evan, Evan. And I could, hello? And I thought, well, he'll get a signal. He'll call me back. I hung up the phone. And I waited, I called and left several messages. And I knew something was wrong. But I didn't know where he was at. I couldn't help him. So I waited. I called Oceanside. I didn't know where he was at, and I started filling out a missing persons report. I told him, Evan, Emmett, and Tanner, and then 20-something minutes into it, she said she couldn't give me any more information, that somebody had already filed the missing persons report, and I said, please help me. She says, I can't give you any information. I said, please. Tell me. I said, this is my friend. And she said, well, we found his motorcycle. Yeah, I knew then. But that's the last words I got to speak to him. And that's the old saying, you say something kind because it could be your last words. I bought a case of water and I was just like, would 1 or 2 bottles get him back? 3, half a case, if he just had a little more.
Yeah, okay, this guy had a problem with alcohol and he had some demons or whatever it was. It didn't affect him as a person or as a human being. People can look at Evan Tanner's story. There's people who are struggling right now as we speak like Evan Tanner did with alcohol. Evan Tanner was this incredible guy, gifted guy, battled with alcohol, and you see how it ends. You see how his story ends. And your story can end the same way.